The Hawks flex their muscles down in the gusty winds of Tassie, while the Saints impressed in their final game for Rui's sister Maddie. The Suns look legit, could this year see their finals dream finally fulfilled, while the Bombers ease past the power despite an apparent rebuild. The Bulldogs' young gun Sam Darcy continues to do the absurd, while the Eagles crowd supported their young star with a collective double bird. This is Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub, and we're dissecting round 3 with the two-time St Kilda All-Australian mafioso, Joey Montagna.
Hello, Rabsy. Hello, gentlemen. Had some people text me, the Hawthorn fans, saying thank you, Daisy, for tipping against the Hawks again, because I think they're 19-3 or something like that since you haven't tipped them in the last 22 weeks, so well done.
You going to tip them this week with the bye?
Yeah, I guarantee I won't be tipping them this week. The trend continues.
Collingwood, Carlton and maybe GWS superstar Daisy Thomas.
Good morning. I think we're allowed to say that, yeah?
Yes.
Good to see you all.
Damo loves time code.
We time code it.
Yeah,
We need to protect ourselves.
And it's 10:03 and 15 seconds. Damien Voldemo Barrett.
Just in case something does break after we speak and people think we miss it. So, yeah.
I'll tell you what did break last night. I was watching the agenda setters, and
Good
Daisy, you were dropping bombs. Now, I've got a bit of a bone to pick. You've been on the show 3 weeks. You've been with us for 5 years, and you dropped a bomb that no one has ever heard before.
Even I hadn't heard this.
No one had heard. I've asked everyone in the Triple M office, did anyone know about this $6 million deal for 6 years at the Giants and captain, and you did this last night?
But I met with the GWS Giants when they were coming in and was pitched about what was to come, what the offer was and everything to go along with that. So that was at a time when we were very successful at Collingwood. We just come off winning a premiership. We looked like we were going to go...
What did they offer you?
A lot of zeros. 6 years for $6 million. $1 million a year in 2011, I think that would have been.
Rabsy, have you heard that before?
I have not heard the Giants and Daisy Thomas captain
Damo,
ever.
you're a news
Joey,
breaker. You are the best in the business.
I
Have
felt
you heard
inadequate. I had not even heard of that, let alone chased it and couldn't get it up and prove it. I had not heard of it.
that? What about
I did
that?
say it somewhere because Jay-Z came into bat for me. He said, I found an article, but I had to go back this morning and speak to Paul Connors. I'm like, mate, this is factual, yeah?
You're questioning your own memories.
Because everyone was tagging me going, bullshit, mate, tell another story, Pinocchio. And I was like, this is fact. So I double-checked it. It is completely fact. Look, arguably, it's a lot of cash in it.
How do you feel about it in hindsight?
Well...
Because it didn't end too well at Collingwood a couple of years later.
I don't really regret
Don't remind
anything.
him.
No, it's fair
Leave
enough.
Bucks alone.
But this is probably the reason I ended up being so pissed off with Bucks and slightly aggrieved at the actual footy club because you do this, you show loyalty, you knock back
100%.
what is massive cash, and then with the hopes of staying on at one club, I signed a 2-year deal to get me through to the end of 2013, and then on the back of that, you pretty much get wrist-sold because your ankle was no good. A contract was ripped up on a Monday as I was walking in, about to sign 4 years for a lot less than $1 million a year. And then you get marched up to Princess Park. You get sold as if you're, a dog for going for the cash, when clearly if I was going for the cash, I'd go somewhere else. And then on top of that, I give $800,000 back to the Blues when I met a trigger clause. So that's 6.8 million.
You've left a lot on the table.
Plus 30,000 in fines. Jasper, can we start a GoFundMe?
And reputational damage too.
Yeah, but again, we don't live in regret, do we?
Hey, there's so many spin-offs of this, aren't there, Joey? Because that was 2012 period. 2 years after that, the Giants had a massive crack at Dusty Martin. We could have had a Martin Thomas dynasty-led GWS
and
team.
Daisy as captain, by the way, taking Dusty under his
Geez,
wing.
that would have gone well. Don't do this, Dusty.
But that would be annoying then. That's why the loyalty stuff would bother you a bit about the whole the defection to Carlton, because you were loyal to Collingwood and knock back. That's a massive deal to knock back and stay at the Pies.
And this was a time when you didn't really talk about those things.
Yeah.
Whereas now you can have transparency and say, look, no, I did get a big offer, but I'm happy to stay. I don't want to go anywhere for these reasons. At that point, I just had to cop it. All the bullets in the back with a big footprint from Bucks as well.
How far down the track did you go? Were you looking at property in Vaucluse, or were you
did you meet Sheeds, or who did you meet with?
There was a meeting. No, look, the best part of it all, so he's a very good mate of mine. We'd sit there on the computer where you were meant to log in all your stuff, your wellness for the day, and we were Googling helicopter from Bondi, so Bondi property, and where the closest helipad was to go back out to Picnic Point or Breakfast Point or wherever it was.
Yeah, it was breakfast, wasn't it?
Breakfast Point. So that's about as far as it got down the road.
Remind me, he didn't play in the first year of the club, did he?
And no, he went up there.
Was it after 2012 or after
similar,
13 even?
He got marched as well. He went in for a review and then got a call back a couple of days later, which is never a good thing, saying come back in.
Yep.
And then he got told that he should be moving on, and he went up to the Giants. And
Had a really good career there.
Had
too.
a really good career, and the Pies played for a lot of his salary first up, I think. So
I was at the peak of my powers, 2010 too.
Did you get a phone
Didn't get
call?
any calls from the Giants. What's going on?
Well, Daisy's Giants play West Coast. We'll get your tips for round
Giants.
4 in a
I can't
little
believe I
bit
missed that story.
later on. Fair dinkum or fugazi still to come. But up next, Damo, it is your news break, and we're going to start with the current day captain meeting up with another coach. This is
Never
Triple M
do it.
Footy's Midweek Rub. All thanks to BWS. Get the right drinks real cold, real close. See BWS website for store locations. Choose to drink wise. Fair dinkum or fugazi still to come. And your round 4 predictions kicking off with Collingwood versus Carlton tomorrow night at the MCG. Damo, it is time for your news. Oscar Allen. Did he catch up with Sam Mitchell?
He did. That was confirmed during the week. He played in a derby on the Sunday, and then Mitchell was over there, and they caught up. And look, I've written a pretty strong column, Joey, and Days on afl.com.au saying that the captaincy has to be taken from him, or he should step down from it. I don't expect everyone to agree with it, but I just take a view that the captain of a footy club, while as an individual player on a list, everyone's got the right to explore options and should explore options. I think that's the world we all live in now. But as captain of the club, it probably should have been a decision, I feel, if he was going to spend 2025 season looking at what options were available to him. Brisbane's interested in him. Hawthorn's interested in him. There are other clubs interested in him. Maybe that leadership role was something he should have taken away from himself at the start of the year before he engaged in conversations. And it's particularly when you then get exposed publicly for meeting with the coach of another club after round 3 at a time your club is just desperately struggling with its lot in life at the moment. I just feel that is where this situation is at the moment.
Well, that's the issue. The fact that he got caught and everyone made it public knowledge. So, do I have an issue with him exploring options and having discussions?
No.
Probably not.
No, I don't think anyone does
but
that.
the fact that he's been
Let's
caught
get to
now
the
as the
captaincy
captain.
part. So, as a player of clubs that you both were at, if you were subjected to a situation where the player who's at the top of your tree, the one you look to, the one you seek guidance from, the one who's meant to be setting standards, is it tenable that he stays in that position?
Yeah, it's hard to argue with your point, and it's all valid. Is it a bit? I was trying to think on the way in. Is it a bit strong? Like I'm thinking, if that was Nick Rewalt, for example, what they would have to do. There'd be a lot of conversations. Leadership group would have to sit down with Oscar Allen. The coaching staff would have to sit down.
He has to address the players.
And he has to address the players. Yeah, that's for a starting point. I could understand if they were to say, all right, you can step down as captain. I don't know. I
your
wouldn't
St
do that.
Kilda days
That's a
would
bit
be
harsh.
different to what they're doing.
Yeah,
so you don't
yeah.
have, like your St Kilda days, without being disrespectful, you didn't have the best kid in the comp who could have gone somewhere else. And at the moment, imagine that conversation when Harley Reid might have the option to explore his, and you're sitting there as captain going, well, mate, you shouldn't be doing...
This is part of the on-field leadership issues that they do have, I think.
Yeah.
If you've got your captain doing that and thinking about these things straight after a game...
And that's part of it too. I mean, the Harley Reid element to this West Coast and Oscar Allen situation is a significant part of it. They're trying to convince him as a club to commit longer term than the next year he's got already of a contract. They're also trying to get Chad Warner in. They're also dealing with a coach who was 3 matches in, one you know really well, Joey, and one that is going to need people who are established footballers like Oscar Allen is, and one that was made captain last year before he even got there. So I just think it's a complete mess. And I'm just surprised that the club has, even to this point, as we talk, as we have time coded again, 10-13, hasn't said anything stronger about it. They've got a game on Sunday. I'm still going to be surprised to see him still have the status as captain going into that game, because I just think it is untenable what he's done. Again, just to back over Days, I don't begrudge anything he's doing by way of just being an individual player seeking a better future potentially.
Have the West Coast Eagles tried to make him hamstrung by giving him the captaincy?
Well,
is there a sense that,
question.
hey, you're the captain, now you can't go, your
No,
loyalty
he was
is here?
captain last year as well. This is his second year as captain. So he was made captain while he was still in contract. So probably to Damo's point, if he was coming into this year and he, in his mind's going, I'm not sure if I'm staying, he probably shouldn't have put his hand up to be captain. He didn't have to be public on why, but he maybe should have said, look,
I've been injured again in 2024.
He was captain last year, though.
Yes,
he was, with Liam Duggan. He's a co-captain with Liam Duggan.
Yeah.
And then again, there's so many ways of attacking this issue. Sam Mitchell's aggression in recruits. I mean, he's already ripped Tom Barras, who was in contract all the way until 2027 as an Eagle, got him out of the club last year. He's targeted other people, got Josh Battle away from the Saints. it's admirable what he's doing, but at some stage, other clubs are going to, I feel anyway, come back and hit his list hard as well. I mean, you've got a Dry Sarong who stood up in a final last year when he covered for Sam Frost. You've got Mitch Lewis, who seems to be always injured, but someone who's got genuine talent. You've got Ward, other players who are, potentially fringe players when all these players come back on the Hawks list. So I think it's going to come back to get them at some stage with the way they're.
Is this the way forward, though? Is this the future that we're going to see clubs and players and coaches going to meet with people in broad daylight, not really giving a single stuff about the look of it or the respect factor, if you will?
It is happening, but I think they're trying to be more discreet than that. I think the brazenness of Sam to go into Perth and expect not to be seen by someone at the airport, and then have you got an issue with it? Not really, for Sam's point. I reckon Oscar Allen, he's got to be smarter than that. Like we heard a story last night on one of the other footy shows. Rory Sloane spoke about St Kilda's pitch in 2018 was privately done on an Instagram private burner account that nobody could see, and it was so there was no flying to flying. Yeah, he spoke about it last, which I thought was fascinating. So there are other ways you can do it without just having the coach fly into your state, and it becoming pretty.
Do the
obvious.
AFL need to step in to stop these?
No, I've got no issue with it.
Because
No,
the NFL,
it's been happening for a long time.
NFL has a model around.
It happened to you in 2011. You were meeting with the
When?
Giants.
Prove it.
Just need to be smarter and more discreet about it like you were.
Hey, we won't labour this part of this chat, but the Rhyan Mansell 3-week ban for pushing Liam O'Connell into the marking contest, unfortunately, he has become the scapegoat of the rule that I feel, and we discussed at the time, that the AFL should have executed when Ginbey did it on Sam Lawler in the off-season. To me, it would have been cleaner to deal with it away from the home and away season. We get to week 3 of the home and away season, and now we've got the standard that isn't allowed.
Yep, but this will be a talking point throughout the rest of the year, because wait for the next time a player actually tries to do body work to work his player under the footy and accidentally nudges him to a pack, and whether that's going to be suspendable or not. So there's going to be, because that happens a fair bit.
That's the next layer, isn't it?
So there's going to be a lot of grey area on
And
all
then
these again.
Also, at some
It'll
stage,
happen
Joey.
this weekend. It'll happen this weekend.
Yep.
We'll say, hang on, was that bump into the pack to try and get free reportable or not?
But what
We
about
won't
the
know.
skirmishes around the ball when the umpire takes it and throws it up, and all the movement and the
there's a
pushing
lot
that
of
goes on
pushing,
there?
a
I
lot
mean,
of
you can get
pushing.
some damage done in those moments, not just the marking
Yeah,
contest.
there's a lot
the
of pushing
duty of
going
care stuff, though. Is that just going to continue for
Beautiful
everything?
phrase, isn't it? It covers everything.
Because and this is where I was worried, and I think I've raised this before on this show, when's it going to stop people going for Mark of the Year? So if you go up and it's an unrealistic attempt and you need someone in the head, is your duty of care gone? And
I reckon you agree. People will freak out. No doubt it'll get to a point at some stage where if you recklessly fly with a knee into the back of someone's head and knock them out, we will get to a point where even if it's a mark, they'll say,
so
you've
the
got
best
to be careful
point,
of doing
It
that
may,
with your knee.
it might not be in 10
No, it
years,
might
but
be
it
20,
could be 15 or 20.
yeah.
Where
so
that
the best part of
One
our
day.
game, the one factor that really uniquely stamps us apart and makes us separate from everything else, could be taken away.
Well,
But that was also our bumping and tackling, and that was all.
Yeah,
that was our point
but
of difference as well. That
the
we can't do
high-flying
anymore.
mark
I know,
is
I know.
part of the game.
Well-
And if you go early, like that's half the point of taking Mark of the Year. You do have to be unrealistic in your attempt and then hope that it's correct once you're up there.
Well, Josh Rochelle is missing 4 to 6 weeks with 3 broken ribs from a knee from an opponent, Tristan Cherry. Again, within the rules, absolutely. But at some stage, I think that's going to be in part of this conversation. Just a couple of injury ones, which are unfortunate in many respects and for many reasons. Tom Edwards, the late addition to the Essendon list this year, who has been playing more than okay for a player who's only 2 games into a
3
career.
goals or 4 goals on debut.
Yeah, 3.
School teacher?
Yep.
School teacher, ACL damage at training yesterday. So unfortunately for him, the dream that he has experienced to this point has now been put on hold. And Jai Caldwell, hamstring damage there. So for a club that finally got a nice win against Port Adelaide, has now got some setbacks there. Just wanted to raise the Tom Liberatore issue. We know that in the absence of Marcus Bontempelli, he's been taking over as the official player with the captaincy status. And it was always that internally without having the
Spiritual
title.
leader, yeah.
I feel it's the competition's now being exposed to the effect that he has had on this club now in a way that it probably should have picked up on a long time before.
He probably did get looked over because he was in the shadow of Marcus Bontempelli to some extent there. But what he's doing, it's incredible. We all know how good of a player he's been, the role that he's played in being the hard-nosed bloke that's going in, rolling the sleeves up and flicking it out. But he's added to that in the absence of Bond. He's covering the ground better than I've seen him before. He's hit the scoreboard a couple of times. There's no doubt that he is certainly lifted, and for that big celebration game as well, he was talking about how he Stephen Bradbury'd into the captaincy, but couldn't have been more delighted with it.
Now, I could argue he's played this way for the last 5 or 6 years. It's just gone because Bonte only missed 6 games in 5 years, and now that he's out, everyone's going, gee whiz, how good's Libba? He's probably just been doing this for a long time. He's a star.
He's still playing very, very well. The Tassie licence, Rabsy, just before we go to the break, there was a report obviously coming from the Tasmanian Parliament system that threw a fair bit of shade over the whole issue. Just to remind people, there is going to be no team in Tasmania unless there is a stadium built with roof. So that is just the prerequisite for it to be done. And it's clearly in the hands of the Tasmanian Parliament and the Tasmanian parliamentary system. And it'll still get to a vote of that parliamentary system regardless of the contents of that report. But it wasn't ideal.
You would know this better than probably Daisy or I, but there's now a feel from people in the know that this might drag out and there could actually be a delay for the Tasmanian licence. What's your feel percentage-wise that may actually happen? And when do we have to know by? Because you're talking about drafts and employing people and all these sorts of things. It's a pretty important decision to know.
Spoke with Andrew Dillon on camera only 3 weeks ago. I raised that because he actually addressed that, and he basically said the clubs will be briefed mid-season on what their draft concessions will be because of the capacity soon to be instituted of trading 2 years in advance. That takes in their entry point. So we're talking about the 2027 exchange period because of the entry to the competition in 2028.
Yep.
So, again, they can backtrack on that, but that's what he's on record as saying as recently as 2 weeks ago.
Fair dinkum or fugazi is coming up next. Then your round 4 predictions. This is Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. Joey, Daisy and Damo, all thanks to BWS. Joey Montagna, the Cats hosting Melbourne at GMHBA Stadium is just what they need.
The Cats? Yeah, that's what they need. They just need to get home, get comfy, get a win.
Guaranteed win.
Guaranteed win.
Guaranteed win.
I think they'll beat Melbourne. Yep.
Damo, Oscar Allen wouldn't be the only player meeting up with a rival coach this season.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair, Dickham. Yeah. He just was silly enough to get caught.
Just like you and Sheeds at the Orong days.
Yeah. I'm still not sure whose house that was in the back of streets of Carlton.
Sauces.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can probably do the maths, yeah.
Hey, Daisy, Max King's absence has done wonders for St Kilda's forward mix.
Oh, Fugazi. Obviously, they'd be a better side with him out there. What it has done is give Ross Lyon some different looks at different players and the way they've had to structure up. But I think Fugazi on the fact that I think they'd be a lot better if he was still in the side.
Any thoughts, Joey?
I think it's given them to different options and different avenues to go. Hopefully when he comes back, that just continues. They don't just get too Max King-centric, but their forward stuff's looked good the last couple of weeks.
Damo, for all their mentions of love off the field, the D's are showing no signs of connection on field.
Yeah, it's fair dinkum. Rabsy, we discussed it on the midweek rub, didn't we, when they were really throwing down the public's throats of this love and connection. And it was always going to be judged on what they did on the field. They got off to a good start when they narrowly lost to GWS in their first match, but the last two, North Melbourne and Gold Coast, have been horrendous. And you do fear now for what they're about to be subjected to for the rest of the year.
Daisy Thomas, weather depending, Marvel Stadium should open the roof for night games.
Yeah, dinkum. Have you seen the coaches in the coaches box? Yeah. Bevo looked like he just come from
on the bench.
Yeah, well, I had to roll the pants up. I was getting that sweaty white T-shirt. I just don't understand. I get it for day games because you get the half sun and that's just crap. That looks bad on the tally. It's hard to play in. No good for the fans. But a night game, when the humidity was extremely high, there would have just been a nice zephyr coming through. There was no chance of rain. Common sense says that's what we should do, not only for the comfort of everyone, but also the spectacle of the game. You got a roof, open it if there's no rain, close it if there's rain. Simples.
Common sense, not so common sometimes. You're right, Daisy, spot on.
What's it like playing under or with the roof open at Marvel, Joey?
There are times when it is sunny that it's shocking, but most of the time it's beautiful.
Yeah, nighttime would be amazing.
Yeah,
think of the Australian Open with the nighttime, the sun setting. Oofed.
Joey Montagna, the Gold Coast Suns have weapons on every line.
Well, that is fair dinkum. They have weapons on every line. Sam Collins, a two-time All-Australian. Mac Andrew, know about the midfield forward line as well. Just still want to hold fire a little bit. We've seen this story before. 2-6. We've seen it before. This is a good test. Good test against Adelaide on the weekend.
Do you believe if they beat the Crom?
I'll start to believe, not fully committed.
That won't be enough either.
Yeah, we'll
it'd be a starting point. Yeah.
How many times have we seen them 2-6?
Who would have thought you'd be a naysayer on this?
I'm coming around. I just need to see more.
Daisy's on the front of the bus, though. That is true.
I'm driving the bus.
You are driving the bus, yes.
So was Bill Brownless, who's a paid-up member of the Gold Coast Suns, and they're undefeated since he's become a member.
Oh, boy. Didn't get off the bus.
Damo, Nick Larkey can win the Coleman medal.
Yeah, he can. Yeah, he's The fact he's got 12 already, with, I won't say limited opportunities, but some moments that he had to make happen for him. He's such an accurate kick too. He's the most accurate kick in the comp. So, yeah, fair dinkum.
Sticking with you, Damo, the AFL need to adopt the NRL's no-fault stand-down policy.
I want to say fugazi, Rabsy. I'm assuming you're referring to the Noah Bolter situation.
Yes.
Can you explain what that is first? Because I'm not 100% across it, and I assume most of the listeners wouldn't be either.
I'll paraphrase what I believe to be the case in the NRL. The moment a player is charged under the courts of the land, he is stood down, or he or she is stood down for the period of that. Now, I don't mind that as a principle, but the practicality of it sometimes has a case not being heard for maybe more than 12 months down the track. Yeah. And then if you are then found to be not guilty of the charge, what has happened to that career? So that's why I'm against it. I know that the system, the AFL system, has had Bolter suspended for 4 weeks. There's a period where he will be available for senior selection for at least a fortnight before the finding and the sentencing is done in the Corowa local court. I'll be surprised to see him playing senior footy in that time frame, despite the ban being ended. That's just my take on how this will play out.
Joey Montagna, the Giants would already have a premiership if our man Daisy was their inaugural captain on a 6-year, $6 million deal.
I can just picture it now, 2016, prelim final against the Bulldogs. They need a big moment. Bont's done one thing at the other, and then Daisy just kicks a goal. And they play in a granny in 16. They played in one in 17. I could have seen them win a premiership with Dale holding that premiership cup aloft.
Damo, BT is taking no prisoners this year.
Good to be here in person at the Adelaide Oval. The only broadcasters that are actually at the ground.
I love it.
Was this on number 7?
Fair
It was on Channel 7
It was on
on
number
Sunday.
7.
Definitely wasn't on a Saturday.
For those catching up with the story, the fact that the Foxtel outlet decided to take the P155 out of him in its own celebrations of having access exclusively to Saturday broadcasting and making a BT lookalike not be able to get into their party. BT watched that, stored that away, and then went bang on the weekend. I like it. And there was no people from Foxtel at that said game.
It's awesome.
Well, speaking of TV, Daisy Thomas, TV post games go far too long.
No, that's fugazi. I think the people who are staying up want to see more insights of the rooms.
Rui going to get a drink for Sam Durran.
Yeah, and having a chat with Nate Caddy. Look, we probably have to have a chat with Rui. This probably reflects more about what his mindset is at this
sitting
stage.
with an empty MCG behind him for 3 hours.
That's okay. Joey's got to get paid. But no, I've got no issue with it. We've got to, the actual mechanics of it are that you've got to do it and you've got to get sponsors' credits away. And if you're staying up that late, you want some footy content.
And the press conferences. People want to see the press conference, particularly after a loss. So we just fill a bit of time until the presses and then see what the coaches have to say.
People rock up to the press conferences anymore, Damo?
No.
The same journo.
Finally, speaking of press and the press conferences, our man Jay-Z Clark, in his new role, Joey Montagna, may have found some extra dollars.
Heard he got a new car too.
Leather boots.
Second car.
Oh, what is it?
Hang on.
What is it? What brand can we say?
It's a brand, that's for sure.
I heard is it a premium brand?
It's a premium brand.
Oh.
Yeah.
Jay?
It's a top shelf whiskey, that's for sure.
Normally on the train, to be honest, coming to the footy, but they're nice to have a second car in the family.
I heard it's a Mercedes-Benz.
I heard it was a Nissan Navara, Pro 4X Warrior. Like the top of the range, the best you can get.
Is he losing his way, man? Is he losing his way?
The head wobble.
He's dissed you guys on the Sunday.
It's gone to his head a little bit.
He's flicked us. We bought him a bottle of Grange. He still does Thursdays over us. He pledged his love for us the whole way through. He may as well be playing for Melbourne with how much care he cares for us.
Wants his head on TV more.
Just
burn the Sunday rub.
He's taking Foxtel over the Ems.
Yeah.
But
we need to sit down. We need a 360-degree feedback session with him.
We'll get him in.
Yeah, and just drill him from all angles.
Well, if you see a Mercedes-Benz driving around Dorcas Street, you know it's our man Jay-Z Clark. Hey, some huge games in round 4. We'll get your predictions next. Collingwood versus Carlton on Thursday night. This is Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. You can catch every game across round 4 on Triple M and the Listener app, starting tomorrow night with the Thursday rub ahead of the blockbuster between Collingwood and Carlton.
Who's there, Jay-Z?
Jay-Z is there. He's going to arrive in his Merc at the Triple MCG. Jack Everett, Kate McCarthy, Isaac Smith. We'll start with you, Daisy, because you played for both these clubs.
did.
How big of a game is it for both Collingwood and Carlton?
It's arguably bigger this year for Carlton than it is Collingwood. The history is the history, and they both fans bases, both clubs don't really like each other for good reason. The fans, obviously, it goes back a long way. Look, for Carlton, it's almost feels like season on the line. I know they've got the West Coast Eagles the week after, but again, that's no moral at the moment. I can see it being close, but I just can't see the Blues finding a way to get over the top. I can't lose either way, but I'll be tipping Collingwood.
Damo?
I gave Carlton one more chance last week against the Bulldogs. They were okay, but it wasn't enough, and I think Collingwood, with off the break, will just be too fast for them all night.
This is my outsider. I'm giving Carlton one more chance. Daisy's point, it's a must-win game. I've had a deep dive this week. They're actually doing a lot right, Carlton. It is just their offense that's letting them down. If they can just find a way to score a bit better, hopefully Harry Mackay's back, I can see them just lifting more so through effort than necessarily polish, but I reckon they can beat Collingwood.
They're banged up a bit too, though. Like Cripper's sore after the weekend.
Is he?
Yeah, you saw that big knock
yeah.
he took to the
Walsh
lower back.
doesn't look 100%.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I hope you're right.
Give them a chance.
They're
One
not
more
sure.
chance.
Yeah.
Last one.
Lions did it
It'd
last
be great
year.
for the comp, wouldn't it, if they just for the neutral football lover, if Carlton got up in this one.
Yeah, still alive.
Lions did it last year, Joe, but if the Blues go 0-4, can they still play finals?
Technically they can, but it would be very, very hard. Yep.
Geelong versus Melbourne, Friday night down at GMHBA Stadium, Damo.
You just have to tip the Cats in this. I mean, look, they retrieved nearly a 47-point deficit against St Kilda and then had a 32-point lead against Brisbane. Their form, I think, is okay, and against Melbourne, they'll be going 2-2.
Cats are my certainty. They'll win this one.
I've had a look and a decent look at this one for the Friday night coverage I'll be doing. All the stats say that Geelong should be winning. Backs against the walls for the Ds. The captain, Max Gorn, will be best on ground. This is going to be my tip for an upset, based purely on feel, not any of the stats.
This game is, big call.
Like it.
This game's arguably
Big call, Thomas.
match of the round, Joey.
Yeah.
Gold Coast versus Adelaide.
Yes, I'm heading up for Fox Footy. We'll be there calling this one on a Saturday.
You going?
Yes,
Staying in
we'll be there.
Cavalab?
Absolutely.
Exclusively,
I don't know, actually.
Exclusive.
This is a 50-50 game. We'll find out which team's real, not so much which team's not because it's still early, but this is a big one. I'm going to lean towards Gold Coast simply because it's at home. But, yeah, not real confident. This is a good game.
For the same reasons, there's no great science in that tip for me, but the Suns over the Crows because of the venue.
50-50, no way. This is 90-10.
Gold Coast,
Suns
your
march
team.
on. 6 or more goals. Smack them.
Richmond versus Brisbane, Damo.
Brisbane.
Yeah, Brizzy.
Brisbane.
North versus Sydney, Damo.
Sydney.
Do you give them any chance,
Yeah.
your boys?
Yeah, but they'll lose by 4 or 5 goals again like they did last week against Adelaide.
Gut feel,
6 goals.
North. I think they've got a good record against Sydney at Marvel. I know they should have won a game a couple of years ago when they had 19 on the field.
Oh, you going back
change
there?
interference. I think under the roof at Marvel, Sydney. I'm not sure about
they're
their list.
gettable, aren't they?
They are gettable.
Yeah.
I'm going to go North Melbourne. I'm still sticking fat. Bring some
Yeah.
positivity around here to North Melbourne.
I'm not sure. It's hard when you're a side that's trying to improve, when you put out a couple of good efforts, that you then sort of have a slip up. So I think that'll be this week, and the Swans should smack them.
I'm guessing the Giants versus West Coast is unanimous for the Giants. So we'll move to Port Adelaide versus St Kilda, the first of 2 Sunday games. Adelaide Oval, Daisy Thomas.
This is intriguing, this one.
It is.
Which game are we doing? Do we have
No, you
Sunday
just got
rub?
Sunday rub only, throwing
Then
to
we'll hand
Adelaide
over to
Oval.
Dom Cassisi and the boys.
3 weeks in a row you've got that.
I lost me way.
I'm not liking my tipping, but I think St Kilda can win this.
Yeah.
I really do. If
They can.
If Windhager can tag either Rosie or Horn Francis, he's doing that role now. Take one of them out, leaves them a bit thin. Saints playing good. I'm backing my boys in. I could end up with 3 tips this week, but I'm going for it anyway. Saints will win.
Is this because you wrote them off last week and you're feeling bad?
That was the week before the Geelong
But
game.
are you still feeling bad?
Nah,
Is it, nah?
inspired with it. I'll win this one.
Port
take
Adelaide for
credit.
me.
Did Ross blow up?
No, he loves it. He said, keep going, keep prodding them.
2 weeks.
Is that what he said?
Jesus, inspirational from Ross.
Careful, there'll be a story written about that.
Finally, Fremantle versus the Western Bulldogs, Damo. That's a huge
It's
game.
a huge game. Oh, look, I'm just going to stick with my pre-season feel on the Dockers now. They've got a win on the board, albeit against West Coast, but I quite like what they did last week, and I'm going to stick with them against the Bulldogs. But it's line ball again.
Yeah, for the same reasons. I still have hope for Fremantle this season. It is only early, so this is a game they need to win. You're going to have to start beating sides around you the longer the season goes, and if they're going to be taken seriously, this is one they should win.
I like the Dogs. Bevo makes me nervous. Can generally find a way, but Fremantle
Makes Damo
surely
nervous too.
Very nervous.
And of
He's
course,
been sweating a lot, though, hasn't he?
I know you'd be sweating if Bevo walked in.
Of course, Hawthorn Daisy has the bye.
I reckon they'll get a win this week.
And the Bombers as well. You can catch every game across round 4 on Triple M and the Listener app. Starting tomorrow night with the Thursday Rob with Jay-Z Clark, the Chief, ahead of the blockbuster between Collingwood and Carlton at the Triple MCG. Jack Efron, Kat McCarthy, Isaac Smith, Nathan Brown, Ruby Schleicher is your call team for that one.